watching out. For you, this is NewsWatch 12 at 4.
I've lived in my house for over 60 years. I've lived in this community. I have never, ever, ever in my life experienced what we're experiencing right now.
More than 60 Talent residents gathered near City Hall to share hardships they have been facing. The turnout saw residents talk about solutions for power outages and what next steps they can take. Senator Jeff Golden also made an appearance to share what his talks with Pacific Power have been like. Thank you for joining us for NewsWatch 12 at 4. I'm Tim Quidadamo. NewsWatch 12 has been following this story closely this summer. In early July, NewsWatch 12 reported on Pacific Power's wildfire safety settings being on following an outage then. At the end of the month, NewsWatch 12 reported on an animal-caused outage that impacted more than 14,000 customers throughout the Rogue Valley. NewsWatch 12's Damian Alvarado was at Talent City Hall today, where Wagner Creek residents voiced their frustration. Take a look.
Yeah, those multiple residents expressed a lot of concern specifically about what's next for Pacific Power and also what's going to happen this winter. But I think two of the largest takeaways was not being able to have access to water, specifically people in the Wagner Creek area, and also access to their medical devices. When that power's out, those machines go out too.
From what they're explaining, it's going to keep going on in winter. And actually, I'm up in Wagner Creek. When I had that run of 4 outages in 5 days.
Yes. Yeah.
2 of them in the same day.
Power outages and safety concerns were two things residents expressed when describing the frequent power outages in Talent. A little over 60 community members showed up to share frustrations, but it was residents who live along Wagner Creek that say outages make life difficult and dangerous.
I would say 99% of us are on wells, and so without power, you have no water.
Now, the situation is especially tough for those with medical needs like Cheryl's husband, who relies on oxygen.
I had to set up for my husband just in case. I got out the portable oxygen tank and set it up where he could get to it easily and made sure he had water and those things. And, you know, that's something that is on my mind all the time.
Cheryl says it took a lot of effort from her and the community to get Pacific Power to explain why the outages are happening. Pacific Power does offer a medical certificate program that gives a $4,000 rebate towards the total expense for getting a generator, but it's a solution still too costly for those who don't qualify.
It's going to be over $7,000 for them, and they don't have medical issues. So it's $7,000 out of pocket for them. So, and I'm sure that's the way it is for other folks too.
In Talent, David Alvarado, NewsWatch 12.
Damian, thank you. And as of mid-August, the city of Talent has faced more than 40 outages, leaving them frustrated and searching for answers. NewsWatch 12's Samantha Cadera is live in Talent with more details about what problems residents are facing. Sam, what have you learned today?
Yeah, Tim, as we've known throughout this course of the summer, residents are growing to be frustrated, especially with the more frequent power outages. Now let's take a look and see what Pacific Power has to say. In Talent, power outages have become a more common disruption for residents, despite the lack of significant wildfire threats directly in Talent. This year, the town has seen frequent outages, causing inconvenience and concern among the community.
Like, why is it just in Talent that's being affected so much?
I think that's been one of the biggest misconceptions here, is that Talent is somehow isolated and being impacted by these outages. We've had several other communities around the state that have actually had more outages related to these settings. So the impacts are spread throughout our service area. This is not a situation where there's just one area that's being affected by these outages.
Pacific Power explained that the enhanced safety settings on power lines are intended to prevent wildfires by quickly de-energizing lines when potential issues are detected. While this approach aims to mitigate fire risks, it has led to a higher frequency of outages.
We understand and appreciate that this has been a hardship for some customers, and we have been meeting with local leaders in Talent to try to find solutions and improvements to mitigate that impact on customers. As a result of that collaboration, we've taken several steps to update our equipment and the lines serving Talent.
You know, as these power outages have taken a pretty big toll on the community, we hope that Pacific Power is working towards a more reliant power infrastructure. Live in Medford, Samantha Cadera, NewsWatch 12.
Sam, thank you. And after the gathering near Talent City Hall today, Representative Pam Marsh announced that she sent a testimony letter to the Public Utilities Commission about the power outages in Talent. And joining us live right now to talk about that testimony is State Representative Marsh. Thank you so much for taking the time to sit down with us today.
Oh, thank you for having me.
And Representative Marsh, as we just mentioned, you sent a letter of testimony to the Public Utilities Commission this week about the power outages in Talent. Can you share what was in that letter?
Sure. Well, the Public Utilities Commission, which is the agency that regulates our utilities, is currently operating a docket that is accepting testimony for rulemaking around the utilities mitigation plans for wildfire. So my input to them was really based on our experience here in the Rogue Valley. And I submitted a couple of comments. The one that's most relevant to Talent is to note that we need to understand that baked into our utilities planning for wildfire should be the ability for local communities to really operate their own power grid. We understand that impending wildfire, the risks associated with wildfire, are probably going to mean that we're going to experience more outages. So we need to have the opportunity to build microgrids, to use storage systems, so that when the larger grid goes out, we can still keep our community functioning. And that's the input that I shared.
Thanks for sharing with us. And Representative Marsh, another question is, what have you been hearing from some Southern Oregon residents that you represent?
Well, clearly people are very upset about all of the outages. They've had a lot of life disrupted when the power goes out. And we've got to fix that. We've got to look for the short-term solutions. But we've also got to understand that our community needs to be independent of the big utilities so that when disaster hits, we have the ability to care for ourselves. And I've gotten a lot of input as people start to think about what that longer-term horizon looks like.
And we just heard from some representatives that were worried about their health and safety, how they were getting water if they had a well system, how they're keeping oxygen or CPAP machines on at night. We've also heard from businesses in the past that have lost some of their food in power outages that lasted overnight. And Representative Marsh, the last question I have for you is just, as a resident yourself, what has your experience been like with Pacific Power?
Well, I live in Ashland, which actually doesn't use Pacific Power. I have, as an elected person, I've been very closely in touch with Pacific Power as this has unrolled. I think the company is dismayed at what local residents have experienced. I think they're working hard to try to fix it. And again, I think it's really important that we keep our eye on a longer-term solution, which recognizes the sensitivities of the grid and allows our communities to keep functioning.
All right, Representative Pam Marsh, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Of course. And shifting gears to the fire watch now, we're following up on a couple of fires from last night, including one at Roseburg Forest Products facility in Medford. NewsWatch 12 was at the scene yesterday while firefighters were assessing the fire. Today, the Medford Fire Department saying the cause of the fire was accidental, although the specific origin is still under investigation. MFD says the complex location of the fire caused it to reach a third alarm. And late last night in Cave Junction, the small grass fire started in what looks like someone's front yard. Crews from the Illinois Valley Fire District and the Oregon Department of Forestry were able to put out this small grass fire. Fire officials say a malfunctioning extension cord was the cause. Luckily, no one was injured. And as always, for the latest information on wildfires, fire starts, breaking news, and so much more, download the NewsWatch 12 app and sign up for push alerts. Now we'll check in with Stormwatch 12 meteorologist Sarah Kress in the Weather Center. Sarah, we've been talking about the cold weekend we saw last weekend, a couple of fire stories, a good reminder it is still fire season.
Yes.
And we have some warmer temperatures on the way.
Yeah, we do want to keep in mind it is still fire season, especially this week. It is going to be warming up. After we make it past today and tomorrow, we see a significant warming trend, possibly seeing temperatures into the triple digits on Friday. But right now we're taking a live look out across the region. Today was absolutely beautiful outside. We had a few clouds make their way in, but taking a look out, absolutely stunning. And let's go ahead and take a look at what we can expect for tomorrow. This is when we're going to start seeing some of that warming trend, about 90 degrees into Medford. Take a look at the high we're going to see in Brookings tomorrow, 85 degrees. That Chetco effect really is going to be bringing a lot of heat. We heard that a lot in the beginning of the summer, and it is making its way back for the end. Well, let's go ahead and take a look at the temperature trend for the Rogue Valley, and it is going to be hot as we head into Friday and the start of this weekend. We're trying for those triple-digit temperatures yet again, and it is going to be very hot the next few days. So definitely, if you have some sunscreen, your sunglasses, you're going to want to have those on hand. It is going to be very hot. So again, the next few days, the warming does start tomorrow, warming up as we head later into this week, and we are tracking another storm system coming through this weekend. We'll start to see some cooling into Sunday and Monday. The potential for some storms east of the Cascades, but we'll talk more coming up in our next forecast. Tim?
Sarah, thank you. On the Crime Watch, Klamath Falls police have arrested a suspect after an automatic license plate reader alerted the department of a stolen car out of Texas. Officers located the car and continued to follow, waiting for an additional patrol unit. Police were notified the car was associated to Brenna Swindell, who is listed as a missing and endangered woman out of Texas. They also learned she may be with her estranged boyfriend, Morgan Guidry. Guidry had a felony arrest warrant for family violence. A high-risk traffic stop was conducted and Guidry was taken into custody. Swindell was found unharmed and was able to call her parents to make travel arrangements to return to Texas. And in Siskiyou County, today the Siskiyou County Sheriff's Office is detailing the rescue of an injured hiker along the Pacific Crest Trail. SCSO says an experienced Canadian hiker slipped and severely injured her ankle just outside of Sayad Valley on Sunday. Luckily, the hiker had an in-reach device on her to alert local law enforcement of her location. Search and rescue volunteers then carried the injured hiker 8 miles down rocky terrain overnight. The hiker was safely brought to an ambulance just after 5 a.m. yesterday morning. And in Jackson County, a new business is now open in Medford. It's a psilocybin facility called Shrooms Cafe. The founder says the building can have up to 25 people at a time. There is a preparation form that is governed by the state that needs to be filled out ahead of the dosing session. NewsWatch 12 got a tour of the facility today and spoke with the founder about his business model.
There's certain rules that exist on the state level, and then there's a couple rules that exist in Medford only. One of the things that Medford does that's different, for example, than cannabis, is that it issues us a conditional use permit rather than an actual permit. And so they actually have the authority to come back and pull our permit if we're not doing something correctly.
Upon entry, clients are required when they enter the facility to have a transportation plan and provide an emergency contact. And only on 12 this week can you wake up and win 4 tickets to the Seven Feathers Fall Classic Rodeo. Our latest Wake Up and Win contest is back this week. All you have to do is watch NewsWatch 12 this morning between 6:45 and 7 a.m. to spot a code word. Then enter that code word at kdrv.com/contest. One winner will be chosen each day until Friday. The Seven Feathers Fall Classic Rodeo is set for September 21st and 22nd.